Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to the videos. Another paid request, this time from Andrew. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commenters, what have you, I will try to get to it as soon as I can. Also, I apologize for demeanor. I'm doing this in a bit of insomnia, so I couldn't sleep. So figured I need to get this done. Why not do it now? And he wanted me to do a commentary for the film Quick Change, which is a DVD I have that I got for pretty cheap back in the day. I'm not sure if Andrew's a big fan of the film or what the deal is with that, but this is a film I always thought was okay. It's all right. I don't love it like other people. It's not a favorite Bill Murray film of mine. I mean, I much prefer Ghostbusters, Stripes. I'd probably say even Larger Than Life I enjoyed more than the Scrooged, Ghostbusters 2, What About Bob, Groundhog Day. So it's a bit low on the list. I don't hate the film. Like I say, it's okay, but anyway. With that said, pause the beginning. 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Warner Brothers. I will do the best I can. And Warner Brothers' Little Faded Away Now. This is for syncing. Devoted Production. And then we got the Cityscape and Bill Murray. Now, I can't offer any nostalgic memories because, like I said, I've seen this film probably twice in my life. The DVD I had there is part of the Bill Murray collection. I do like Bill Murray. Not so much as a person, but I do think he's really great at comedy. Like, comedy personas, he's one of my favorites. Because I look at his filmography, and it's just many of them I enjoy. And I can still watch. And this is him in his clown outfit. And I guess only in this city can no one spare a weird glance at a guy in a clown outfit in a subway station. Subway. Soon to be a subway station. Because, I mean, the people know the plot of the film, but just for my own benefit, he's getting ready to rob a bank with Geena Davis and Randy Quaid. They rob in a different way. He hates the city, wants to steep the city. Robbery goes smooth, but trying to get away seems like no matter what they do, they can't get the hell out of Dodge. We got a little bit of the JFK Express there. We got Sony, Dr. Coca-Cola, all elements of New York. Never read the book by Jay Cronley. Screenplay by Howard Franklin. I think this is the only film that Bill Murray's name is attached as a director, and it's a co-directing job. Now, I don't know how this all worked. I could not find much information about it. Was it always meant for Bill Murray to help direct the film? Because this is Howard Franklin and Bill Murray. Was that always the case? Did something happen? Well, Bill Murray had to take over, and then he got directing duties, or he got the co-credit. Because Howard Franklin, I believe, would work with Bill Murray again in Larger Than Life. I think Howard Franklin's name is attached to Larger Than Life as the director. That's the one with Bill Murray and the elephant. I like that as a family film. And this did get some good critical notices, but this film was a complete bomb when it came out. Just a complete utter bomb. Did not make any money at all. The crown on the inside kind of clown. And Bill Murray doesn't do a bad job. He's still his smarmy type of attitude that he showcases in a lot of these type of movies. No one takes it seriously until he shoots the gun. Now, Bill Murray at this time, I mean, you had. There's Geena Davis and there's Randy Quaid. Of course, nowadays it's got a bit in the news because there was an interview where Bill Murray and Geena Davis were on, I forget which talk show it was. Now, Bill Murray's just keeps touching Geena Davis and making the moves on her, like kissing her and putting his hands over her during the interview. And I know that's Bill Murray just trying to be weird. It's funny. The first bit makes me laugh is the dog. It's like, stop licking. But yeah, if you watch that, it's very weird. Just Bill just keeps touching her and groping her, and I don't know why Gene Davis didn't just punch him in the face, but probably because it's to promote the movie and not screw up the movie and not screw up the release of the movie and blacklisted all that stuff. Like, it'd be one thing if they're like boyfriend and girlfriend and they like to be touchy feely with each other. That was another. That was a fucking weird thing. I think Geena Davis even admitted in an interview, yeah, it was a bit of a weird situation. And I mean, he's also the guy that made Lucy Liu cry on Charlie's Angels, the 2000 movie. He was in some controversy recently about his behavior. I remember Seth Green told a story. Was it SNL or something? And Bill Murray like took him and turned him upside down and dumped him in the garbage or something. Maybe supposed to be playfully, but still a bit fucking weird. And don't get me started on how he treated Harold Ramis, because apparently Bill Murray was having a bit of ordeal where he was getting divorced or something, and Groundhog Day was being made, and he had one direction the film wanted to go. Harold Ramis had another direction. Harold Ramis is the director, so he was get more of the final say. And even though Groundhog Day was a great movie, it turned out wonderful, it got released, it was a big hit, was a hit Bill Murray needed because other than What About Bob, his films didn't do well in the 90s. But fucked with Harold Ramis, got so pissed at him for whatever the hell reason, and didn't talk to him for decades until supposedly he came to Harold Ramis's place with cops and some donuts and talked to Harold Ramis before he died. Just for Bill Murray to be weird Bill Murray. I get you want to be weird and you want to be, off the beaten path, but be a decent guy too. That would help as well. Just saying. Now, yeah, I think like during this time, for Bill Murray, I mean, this guy that grew up with SNL, doing very well in that medium. Just to be in movies, Meatballs, fun movie, that's a box office hit. Then you go to Stripes, another box office hit. You go to Ghostbusters, mega hit. And then you have a film he wanted to do because he wanted to be taken seriously as an actor, stretch his acting muscles, the story talked to him, however you want to put it. And it was called The Razor's Edge. And that film did nothing. It did not do well. Critics were not that impressed. Apparently Bill Murray took that to heart. Whether it was a just big old ego breaker, how you want to put it. And then he was not in movies for like 4 years. Other than a cameo appearance in Little Shop of Horrors, he really didn't do much of anything until he came back for Scrooged in '88. Now, I love Scrooged. It's one of my favorite Christmas movies. It's definitely in my top 5 Bill Murray films. But I think that did make some money based on the budget. I think it was a hit. Could be wrong. But I know he did not get along with Richard Donner. Apparently, lo and behold, Bill Murray was hard to work with. But I do like that film. Karen Allen is very sweet in it. It's my favorite take on the Scrooge motif. Love Scrooged. I mean, that whole opening with the night the reindeer died, movie within a movie, and the commercials Bill Murray shows, how the most intense commercial for Scrooge you'd ever see. So then, even though that was a hit, Bill Murray didn't like the final product, although I did, and I know other people did. So, go to Ghostbusters 2. That was a hit. It wasn't as much of a hit as the first one, and it was deemed a disappointment by some, fans. Disappointment by some folks. I guess they thought it'd be a bigger film or as big. But yeah, I also think that was a summer we had Back to the Future 2, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade, James Bond's License to Kill, you had Batman, you had Lethal Weapon 2, you had a huge slate of movies in and around that stuff. And there was a lot of people that didn't like it. And they found it disappointing. I like Ghostbusters 2. Is this just the first? No, I never thought it would be, but I like Ghostbusters 2. But anyway. Even though that did make money, it was a hit. Once again, Bill Murray wasn't happy. So, when you go into this 1990 stuff, in Bill Murray's eyes, he feels like things are not working out. Because he comes back, he does 2 projects that he personally isn't happy with, although box office wasn't too bad, too shabby. So he does this film where he's going to end up co-directing, and his name's on as producer, and it seems like he has more of a hand in it, and it does nothing. You have to think that'd be a bit of a ego bruiser. A film that he wasn't that high on, Scrooged, did a lot better than this one did. Then what was it? What About Bob? Which Richard Dreyfuss, I know, did not get along with him. Richard Dreyfuss told about the mean stuff Bill Murray would do. Bill Murray would just be very confrontational and do these just shitty things. And I buy it. Just Bill Murray has a history of doing that stuff. And What About Bob's a fun movie. I guess I can't say I'm surprised it doesn't have any special features, because I'm sure no one wants to be shit talking everybody else. Although, I mean, I still like, Richard Dreyfuss, he's gone on record to talk about his experience working with Bill Murray. You can find it on YouTube. So. But that's a fun film. Did well at the box office. But what Bill Murray's actual thoughts on it, I don't know. So again, when I said things weren't working well for Bill Murray, I think in his head, in his mind, in his ego, for ones he's happy with, like the ones he seemed really personal to, would be films like The Razor's Edge and this film, and they're the ones that didn't do well compared to the other stuff. Maybe Mad Dawn and Glory with Robert De Niro, which that wasn't a game busters of a hit. Actually, I can't remember how much money it made, to be fair. So, a few bit later, you get Groundhog Day. And again, Groundhog Day was a hit. Groundhog Day did well. And that was like the last hit Bill Murray had for a while that he starred in. Because that's when, throughout the 90s, you had The Man Who Knew Too Little, which bombed. Although I like the film for what it is, but that film bombed. People are like, what's that movie? The Man Who Knew Too Little was Bill Murray as his regular guy. He's thrust into this spy situation, thinking it's one of those. Remember that movie, The Game, where you think you're hired to be part of this interactive game of thrills, but it turns out to be real. Bill Murray thinks he's part of this game that his brother hired him in, but he's too stupid to realize that he's actually in the middle of this real spy stuff. And that's kind of the consistent joke throughout it. Again, I had fun with the movie, but it's not a classic, but I liked it for what it was. I think Bill Murray helps carry the film. And that's the thing about Bill Murray. He is a capable comedian and actor. Like, I may not be gun ho on this film. Like, I think it's okay. I didn't laugh as much as other people did, but Bill Murray does help carry the movie because he's got that comedic talent for it. He truly does. And so, but yeah, The Man Who Knew Too Little didn't do well. Larger Than Life with the elephant. I had fun with that movie. That didn't do well at all. Trying to think what else he did around that time. I guess Rushmore. You had that. And then, he started going a bit more into drama, like Lost in Translation, which definitely got him a lot of critical notices. I think people thought he'd be winning the Oscar for that. He did not, though. And then he would kind of appear in these quirky movies, whether it be The Life Aquatic or bit roles in films like Charlie's Angels or you know just just Ed Wood. Well, that was 90s. This was like 94, so that was before then. But you definitely got a bit more into like more serious or more quirky type of roles of that nature. I mean, probably the last time I remember him starring in, that seemed a little bit like the older stuff, was St. Vincent, which I did like that movie. I know because of the controversy of apparently he did some stuff. I forget what movie it was for. I don't know if they mentioned what movie it was for. Some people were upset to see him in the trailer for Ant-Man 3, but, they still have him in the movie, whether you like it or not, so yeah, apparently he's in the new Ant-Man movie, because everybody's gotta be in a fucking Marvel film, because that's half the movies in Hollywood is fucking Marvel films, and everybody's doing them. Big or small part. So, take it for what you will. They make a lot of money, and they get a lot of publicity, and there you go. Now, this guy here with the phone is Jason Robards. Definitely a old school, capable actor. I know he's been in films I've seen. I can't think of them off the top of my head, though. I think he was in Dream a Little Dream with Corey Feldman. I could be wrong in that. Among others. Now, the person, the blonde hair, of course, it's a wig. That is Geena Davis, which a few years before she was in '86, she was in the Fly remake because she was going out with Jeff Goldblum. And she did a good job in that. That's a great remake. And then, not too long after that, she was in Tim Burton's Beetlejuice, which was another hit. And after this, she kind of, wanted to be an action hero. Because around this time, she was getting together with Rennie Harlan. And so there you had Cutthroat Island, you had The Long Twisted Night, but both of those were big bombs, and I think though that sadly those two really hurt Geena Davis's career. Don't get me wrong, she did do stuff after that, but not as prevalent as before. Because you star in these two big high profile films and you were connected with the director, Rennie Harlan, and Cutthroat Island was so infamous and it was always labeled the film that killed Carol, while granted there was a lot of other attributes as to how that happened. I mean, Cutthroat Island didn't help, but it was also because the way Carol, which is the company that released Terminator 2 and some of the Rambo, the three Rambo films and Universal Soldier and these pretty big high profile movies. It was the way they were spending. It was the way they were dealing with their finances. It was a way of giving all these big. Was it one of the either Sly or Arnold? I think Sly, like one of them was doing like a jet or something. I'm just these crazy stories of gifts and insane things that were given and spending too much money that you didn't have, throwing big parties. It was the wrong thing to do. And that helped cripple that studio as well. But in Cutthroat Island didn't help. It's sad because around that we could have had a crusade with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Paul Verhoeven coming back. We could have had Isobar, a sci-fi action horror film with Sylvester Stallone, Kim Basinger, and James Belushi, where it was like a sci-fi horror monster movie on a train. I think Roland Emmerich would be directing it, and I'm guessing it would have been after Universal Soldier, I believe. So, people just say what they want about Roland Emmerich, but you look at Universal Soldier, how cool that is. I think he would have done a good job with that, so sadly we didn't get that. That part of me is like, it would have been great to see that come to fruition. And there's Randy Quaid, who in this film plays a childlike, high energy individual in this trifecta of thieves, who gets very easily scared and paranoid and helps cause a lot of issues as these three tried to escape. So the robbery went as easy as was a piece of cake. It's just getting out in New York is the issue, and that's sort of the gist of this movie. Now Randy Quaid, I mean, this guy that goes as far back to, The Last Detail, which is a pretty good film with Jack Nicholson, where Jack Nicholson and this other guy are taking this prisoner who's Randy Quaid to jail, and you get the idea that he may be spending the rest of his life there, or at least a good chunk of his life, and showing him a good time before that happens. And it's a really good dramatic role for both Jack Nicholson and Randy Quaid. And he appeared in a lot of other stuff. Independence Day, of course, speaking of Roland Emmerich, as the crop duster pilot who becomes one of our big heroes at the end. Hard Rain as the sheriff that becomes one of our bad guys in the third act. That was the film with Christian Slater and Morgan Freeman. Teen Pin with Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray. So, which is interesting because Bill Murray, of course, worked with Randy on this, and then after Teen Pin, many, many years later, Bill Murray would appear in Zombieland as himself. Also, part of me kept wanting to say, oh yeah, this was a bad time for Bill Murray, but I didn't. I just not really in the fact that, like I said, Ghostbusters 2 and Scrooge did well at the box office, but, there were people trying to say those were disappointments because they expected more. It was like, well, how much more? Like, do you expect 300 million? Like, how much more do you expect? Like I said, Groundhog Day would come after this, and that was a hit. Mad Dawn and Glory maybe wasn't big, but What About Bob was. So, you had a decent, successful amount of movies, but it seemed like at that time, before then, like the ones that people remember the most, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Meatballs, and then Groundhog Day, is the ones he was connected to with Harold Ramis. Either helped write and co-star like Stripes, or directed like Groundhog Day. And this is where Bill Murray just pissed off at Randy Quaid because he honked the horn accidentally. Now this came out in 1990, and 1990 is a really good year for movies. I mean, at least for me. A lot of films I enjoyed came out that year, whether it be The Adventures of Ford Fairlane and Die Hard 2, the 1990 Ninja Turtles film, Total Recall, films I enjoy like Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, Tremors, The First Power, Lou Diamond Phillips, Child's Play 2, Exorcist 3. Steven Seagal had Hard to Kill. I think Van Damme. Lionheart might have been January 91. He wanted to say 1990, but that might have been 91. But I think Death Warrant, where Van Damme was 1990. I think both Hard to Kill and Marked for Death for Steven Seagal was 1990. And then you had Predator 2, of course. RoboCop 2. Yeah, a lot of fun films in 1990. Of course, there really something's amiss, and that's where they find out that no one's in the bank, and now we got be on the run to find these thieves. Now, I don't know why these construction workers would not know where the B2E would be. I mean, if you're in the construction business, you would know a lot about the environment and where locations would need to be because you have to work these situations. And nowadays, this plot would never come into play because you just take out your phone and take the location in, and literally would show you and guide you, go here, go there. So again, in the day and age of getting your cell phone and just putting an address and following it, you can never do this plot. I mean, I guess you just say, well, the phone doesn't work. But I mean, so many people have phones and internet, and you go somewhere to find internet. I mean, again, plot that could only work in this day and age. And even then, they could just stop anywhere at any store, like cafe, restaurant, anywhere, and ask directions. Like, hey, do you have a map? Can you tell me where we're at? Can you tell me where we need to go? In fact, you could literally just find a taxi and just go, hey, take us to the blah 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 airport. I guess eventually they do, and then that's when you get, I think, Stanley Tucci. Is it Stanley Tucci? Or is it, no, I'm thinking of a different movie. I'm thinking of a different film. Was it a film with Tony Shalhoub played the cab driver? And, like, he couldn't speak English? I always thought it was such a weird thing. I guess that's the point, is some shirtless guy with a bicycle or is doing a joust session with a broom with some other guy. Now, I've never been to New York. Like, does he let me know if this was a common thing in New York back in the day? I don't know if it's a broom, whatever the hell they're showcasing. If it's not a broom, I don't know what it is. Some type of scraper thing. But I guess that's the point of the show, just how weird and ridiculous this is. But I remember when I first saw this, like, being a bit excited because I heard a lot of good things about it, and like I said, being a fan of Bill Murray, loving most of his films. Like, again, his filmography, there's a lot of stuff of his I like. And then sitting there going, I don't know, man. It's just, something about this isn't, I'm not hating it, I'm not disliking it, but just something about it just not making it as hilarious to me as his other films were. And I don't know what it is. Now, that guy there, that's Jamie Sheridan. I recognize him because that is the bad guy in Stephen King's The Stand. Flag. If you ever seen the 90s miniseries The Stand, and the bad guy, the devil, however you want to call it, Flag was his name. That's Jamie Sheridan, and that's the same guy here. He's like a mugger, from what I remember. Of course, you have this ongoing theme where she wants to tell Bill Murray this important thing, and but I'm sitting there going, can you really blame him? I'm like, they're trying to get the hell out of here with all this money so you don't go to jail for the rest of your life. Yeah, he's a bit preoccupied. I mean, I really don't get Geena Davis's problem with Bill Murray's character. He seems so different. I wouldn't know because we didn't see him before this, so how is he different? $4? Of course, the joke here is that this guy's mugging them and they have like all this cash but it's strapped to their body, but because he only looked at the wall, it is only $4. We got your map and our $1 million. Yep, Des Moines, Iowa. And that's another thing I keep looking at Randy Quaid. It's sad that this guy just went off his rocker. Completely off his rocker. And having these paranoid delusions and saying people are out to get him, and then like him and his wife or whatever were stealing things. It just, I have no idea what the hell happened to Randy Quaid. Like, what happened to him? I have to wonder what Dennis Quaid thinks about that. Like, Dennis Quaid, I mean, his career maybe isn't shining like he used to, but at least he still gets movies here and there. At least compared to Randy Quaid, like, I can't remember the last thing anyone saw Randy Quaid in, but at least Dennis Quaid, from time to time, there's that movie where he played the psycho going after the couple. There's that film I reviewed where the kid had the alien gun and Dennis Quaid was in it as the adoptive dad. I'm trying to think what else. Like, he's been in a few other stuff. I just wonder if anyone asked him what the fuck happened to Randy Quaid. He's like, I don't know. I just maybe they're unsure on asking him because they probably would assume, rightfully so, Dennis might get pissed about it. But it's like, if you're sincere about it, it's like, no, I sincerely, because I remember liking Randy Quaid, for who he was as a comedic, usually comedic actor. Once in a while he'd do a serious. I mean, what, back in the 80s he was in that movie with Charlie Sheen, The Wraith. He played a fairly straightforward role in that film. So here they're changing their clothes in order to the clothes they came out of. That was the. I was surprised it. Well, yeah, I guess they did, and the guy stole them. I don't know why the mud decided to steal clothes and shit. Like, what you don't do? Sell them at what, the Goodwill, and get a couple bucks out of them? Randy Quaid stole Men in PI's T-shirt, and Bill Murray looks like he's ready to be a bad guy on Miami Vice. Oh wow, Phil Hartman. Rest in peace to Phil Hartman. Yeah, I think this is the film Tony Shalhoub's The Cab Driver. Now I remember. This is the film I'm thinking of with Tony Shalhoub as the cab driver. I apologize, folks. I said this is probably the third time I'm watching the movie. Yeah, Tony Shalhoub is the cab driver in this. I remember now. But yeah, that's Phil Hartman. Great comedic actor. Very sad what happened to him. Very, very sad. No codes. Phil Hartman, of course, was on Saturday Night Live, and did a lot of bit parts in films. I think he was even in Jumpin' Jack Flash as one of the workers at the computer place. Well, I guess it was a bank investment firm where Whoopi Goldberg worked at. And there are a few people. I think John Lovitz was there. I think Phil Hartman was one of the actors there. Jumpin' Jack Flash was, 86? And throughout the years, he did these bit parts in other films, but he would get a bit more from Saturday Night Live. Now, the reason I kind of paused there is because I keep thinking when I see Phil Hartman, he had this wife who he was in love with, and she was just fucking crazy. Killed him. I think she did herself in too. I can't remember the details because they were so depressing. I wanted to forget them, but I know that she killed him, and Phil Hartman didn't do anything wrong. And Phil is one of those guys that everybody says he was the nicest guy. They didn't have a single bad word to say about him. Not a single bad word. No bad words. And he was getting a bit more higher profile movies. Later on, I mean, he was in the film with Sinbad. Like, they co-star in it. Was it First Kid, or was it House? It might have been House Guest. It might have been the film House Guest, which I don't think I actually saw that film. Of course, he was in Arnold Schwarzenegger's film Jingle All the Way, which is another Christmas favorite of mine. Small Soldiers. Although, granted, all those films I mentioned flopped, but he wasn't the main star. And even with those films flop, and people were still giving some praise to Phil Hartman and the way he interacted, the way he did his job well compared to the others. He got some praise for it, and now I think about it, Phil didn't really get the chance to be the main star of a movie that I can think of. I'm trying to think of a movie that he got to be the full focus main star. He never really got that chance. He really never got the opportunity. I think there would have been someone who eventually would have given him that chance. I mean, even, Norm Macdonald, he got, Dirty Work in that film Screwed, where he was the star, and you had maybe, like, Dave Chappelle co-star and stuff. But yeah, Phil Hartman sadly never got that, and then they did a lot of, like, supporting work, and then got killed. Very sad. Very sad to hear. So pretty much what happened was that they parked the car, and the firemen needed to move the car, and the car was rolling all the way back down. See, I don't get Geena Davis's huff and puff. I don't get her anxiety. I don't get her behavior. Jaunty in your own power and expertise. He hasn't done anything to showcase that. He hasn't shown any behavior. And I absolutely get Bill Murray's confusion and his just. And that's the thing, is that I like Geena Davis as an actress, and Randy Quaid I don't mind as an actor. I don't know if I could say I really love their characters in this though, because Randy Quaid's just an idiot, and at times he gets a bit annoying. And Geena Davis is just this paranoid fruitcake that goes in these spats and spazzes for seemingly no discernible reason. I mean, I know she has something she wants to tell Bill Murray, but still. That's it with Randy Quaid, is that it could be, you have to use it in the right way. Using the wrong way would be like Pluto Nash. Like Pluto Nash was terrible, and sometimes you get like a bit over the top, like in Teen Pin or this. And I don't mind Teen Pin, but it's not a favorite of mine. I much prefer like Dumb and Dumber and Me, Myself, Irene, when it's the Farrelly Brothers who did Teen Pin. But I don't mind Teen Pin, and that's Tony Shalhoub as the cab driver. This is what I remember, because he doesn't speak English. So they're talking to him and telling him where to go, and he has no idea. Well, then makes you wonder, how did he get this job in the first place if he can't hold it as a cab driver? Well, maybe he didn't understand. But yeah, Tony Shalhoub, the driver, he, another great actor. This is a guy that's going to be in a show I absolutely adore called Monk. I think I have that up here, actually, the TV show Monk. Really enjoy that. I would actually love to watch that again, Monk. Again, such a fun TV show. Oh, it's a jungle out there. It's a jungle out there. Think of it as like a very comedic, quirky version of Columbo. The episodes are standalone. Really, the only ongoing in the background is that someone had killed Monk's wife long, long ago. And also his assistant, who's also his handler, he was dealing with his having to deal with his mannerisms all the time. But like, you pop in an episode and not be confused, and it's a fairly, they're standalone episodes. And again, the TV show Monk, like I said, I'm a fan of. I don't know, it'd be my top 10 favorite shows of all time, but it's up there somewhere. But Tony Shalhoub did a lot of other stuff too. I mean, he was in that movie 13 Ghosts, the remake. He was one of the stars of that movie. He was in The Siege, I believe, with Bruce Willis and Denzel Washington. He was the voice of Splinter, of course, in that 2014 Ninja Turtles movie and the sequel. And yeah, I like Tony Shalhoub as an actor. I'm sorry, I just don't think of him as the voice of Splinter. But honestly, he's the least of the worries. It was the well, maybe with a better script, better direction, better producer, better everything, maybe it could work. And it is like Tony Shalhoub's character probably did somewhat understand what was going on. It's just he did his own way, and then even when he's not supposed to be speaking English, he can garner a few chuckles out of it. So this copycat clowns crimes happening in the city. I mean, also, is this film supposed to be like trying to showcase that New York is a shit town? And that if you, or like, is that what's trying to pontificate to the audience that this town is such a fucked up bit of quirk that even three criminals can't get out of it? I don't know why that reminds me of that film Trapped in Paradise, which came out I think a bit after this with Nicolas Cage, Dana Carvey, John Lovitz, which was also about three people that stole some stuff, and the rest of the film is them not being able to get out of that environment. Only that was in the wintertime in the snow, and they can't get out of this quaint town that treats them happily and kindly and with care. I think that might have been a Christmas movie. I could be wrong. For those who remember Trapped in Paradise. Do I like that film more than this? I don't know. I mean, I like Nick Cage, but I would say I'm a bigger fan of Bill Murray than Nick Cage in terms of actors. Tony Shalhoub does have some good physical acting in this, I will say. And they're going on the gist of the wrong place at the wrong time. And there's Stanley Tucci. That was a fun line. Tucci going, "This ain't my dick in your back." And Bill Murray goes, "Well, that's a relief." Now, Stanley Tucci in the Bat there, he's been in a lot of stuff as well. I mean, probably the last thing I saw him in was when I reviewed The Core from 2003. Of course, he's been in a lot of other movies other than that. The guy on the front almost looks like John Landis. It's not. But just the glasses and the beard, he almost looks like John Landis. And the guy in the back with the yellow T-shirt, that reminds me of the cop in Teen of New York. Who's like the last remaining cop that tried to stop Christopher Walken by the end of Teen of New York. I don't know if it's the same actor, but if it's not, that's who he reminds me of. Grab something over here. All right. Like I said, I know this is a lot of praise from people because it details the hardship of the city and how the city itself, with the crime or the everyday weird things going on, can turn the best laid plans upside down and in over its head. So again, whether it be people you're trying to talk to who can't speak English or in the middle of a crime, or like the firemen that muggers firemen fucked it up their car. Try to detail how like the city itself has this big grudge that just will not let these guys go and escape. Which is why the cover has this type of stuff on. I mean, sneak preview says this is Bill Murray's funniest movie since the original Ghostbusters. Well, I disagree with that because I always say I like Scrooged and Ghostbusters 2 more than this. Caddyshack, of course, after Freddie Caddyshack back in the day for Bill. What it says in the back heel, Bill Murray plays Grim, a frazzled urbanite who disguises himself as a clown and sets out to rob a bank. Geena Davis and Randy Quaid play accomplices in Grim's daring scheme. Jason Robards is the cop caught up in Grim's clown day afternoon. Swiping $1,000,000 is a snap compared to getting out of town. Grim and the other two commandeer a car, a cab, a bus, a baggage tram, and a plane, and encounter future stars Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub in supporting roles to make what becomes for them a less than merry escape. But for comedy lovers, Quick Change is a ticket to ride. And the only features is a trailer. So, yeah. Only a trailer. Speaking of the bus, he doesn't want 100, he wants the exact change. I have no idea. And this is some of the bits where Randy Quaid's character, just gets a bit on my nerves. I get what he's trying to do, but just being a bit too big and just too overzealous. Back in the day where you just be in a fucking store and just smoke a cigarette. Like the clerk here to just smoke a damn cigarette for this shit. 98.62. This is something I can perfectly understand though. Like this is one, maybe because it's the thing I can relate to. Maybe the other stuff is just so weird and fantastic. Maybe that's the point. But like the funniest bit for me is this here because this part is just very relatable. Where you're in line and you have the person up front that just takes their absolute sweet time. Where they're older and they just, again, taking their sweet time and have all this stuff here. I don't know if you want to fit, don't fit all that in one bag. Yeah, put the soda in there and just crush the whole thing. It's just like, no matter what, just the guy just, Murphy's Law. And when it rains, it pours. Okay, just run for it now. Run for it now. Baggerman for Vince Lombino. I think Vince Lombino, for what I remember, is played by Kurtwood Smith or Clarence Boddicker in RoboCop, the bad guy in RoboCop. Of course, he can't speak English, and they just. I wonder if that would be PC today, where all the joke is he can't speak English, and we're supposed to automatically laugh at that. And that's the secret. That is the secret. Again, like Geena Davis, like her paranoia comes from nowhere, and that's what just completely confuses me about her character is that Bill Murray has done absolutely nothing to make this person warrant this reaction. Like, at all. And that's why, like, I got either a man child or Randy Quaid, or I got this confusingly paranoid, muddled brain character played by Geena Davis, and the only person that I kind of either like or relate to is Bill Murray's character. I think that's another thing why, sometimes I say I'm open to re-reviewing stuff, or I'm open to talk about stuff again, because I'd always do it better. Because with each viewing of a film, I could always like put a bit more. Okay. Let me put it this way: in school, I was the type of guy that the best I would learn is by repetition. Repetition, repetition. I would have to read the thing like 3 times or 4 times to really wrap around my brain and talk it through. So the first time, maybe I miss certain aspects, but I get to like the third or fourth time and it becomes more concrete and explain my point of view. Although I tried to do it best I can the first time. And also, like everything else, there are movies that age better, there are movies that age worse. How many people talk shit about John Carpenter's The Thing, which to me is one of the best sci-fi horror films out there? And probably some of those same people that talked crap about back then, they go, you know what, that's really great. Or people trash a movie and then you watch it 5 years later, you go, you know what, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. Or not as bad as you remember. So the guy's his interpreter and they thought an interrogator. This cop's a moron too. Well, even if he did, he wouldn't know. God, that cop's just a fucking moron. No one should be fired off the force. Too fucking stupid to hold his job. Toshlub just doing the again. I would say Tony Shalhoub's like for me the best part of the film, or one of the best parts of it for me. And that's like a random thing where this guy's too stupid. He keeps getting his guitar blocked by the doorway to not get into the bus. I mean, that seemed like a bad skit on SNL reject. I'm as confused as Bill Murray. Again, she just has. Okay, well, that gets into why the bus has to be stopped. Take that guitar and slam his head in. Don't give him $6,000. Well, I gotta say, I mean, at least the movie's, short. I'll give you that. I mean, we got 19 minutes left of the film, so I at least can say, it doesn't truly overstay its welcome. Like I said, it's okay because at least it's short enough to not get too boring. A lot of nice, recognizable people on the supporting cast, like Tony Shalhoub, Stanley Tucci, Phil Hartman, later on Kurtwood Smith. Which, like I said, Kurtwood Smith, he was the bad guy, Clarence Boddicker in RoboCop, and then he'd appear in a big role in Oscar, the Sylvester Stallone film. He's probably popular as being the dad on that '70s show, and now they're doing that '90s show, which I did not watch because I didn't even watch that '70s show. So why would I watch that '90s show? So we have our three characters in the middle of the street, Baron, which I don't know if it'd be that Baron in New York. Again, never lived in New York. But maybe that's another thing too. I've never been to New York, so the things that happen there maybe I can't relate to, or I don't know if someone who lives in New York would enjoy the film more than I have. And yeah, this film did not do well, and I think the marketing probably didn't help because like one of the posters is just Bill Murray in a clown outfit with balloons, which I think is a very weird poster. Quick change. Maybe it's that a title that really gets people pique their interest. Even this cover here with all the weird stuff. I mean, does this really entice people to be okay? Here's a big pretzel. Here's a weird telephone booth, phone booth on the side. Here's some weird construction, and signs, and seems like a silly class art project in the background. So maybe people looked at that poster or advertising and they go, what the hell is this? So there you go. It shows that Tony Shalhoub did understand what they were saying. If Randy Quaid had calmed down, he would have taken him to the airport. You were too busy being complete. It was too busy not getting arrested because Randy Quaid fucked up the horn and then jumping out of cabs and is the big liability, screwing up every opportunity they get. God forbid he's got to worry about, not going to jail for the rest of your life, including yourself. So I guess that's the thing. Like, I'm watching this, and like I said, it doesn't make me mad. There's Kerwood Smith. Again, Kerwood Smith back there, right there, from RoboCop and many other movies. I'm trying to think what the hell I was going to say. But like I said, there's not a whole lot of moments that just made me laugh out loud like other Bill Murray films. Again, like, or stuff he was like Caddyshack or Meatballs or again Stripes or Ghostbusters or Groundhog Day. Like I said, I probably laughed more at Tony Shalhoub than Bill Murray in this. Like I said, it's short at least. It's on the move, so it's going to various different locations. So it never gets monotone in its pacing. Why is this girl getting high and mighty when you joined them in stealing $1 million, but now you want to get high and mighty? There's Brandy Quaid whining again. And this is, I think Randy Quaid, I would say I enjoyed him more when he's trying to be more of a serious actor. Whether it be his bit role in The Wraith or Hard Rain. He was handled well comedy wise in Independence Day. Short moments. When he tried to push the comedy, like in this film, and Pluto Nash and Kingpin, like I say, he gets a. Of course, the big thing is Cousin Eddie and National Lampoon's Vacation. Again, I think he's used from time to time. It really does come off as the whiny type of comedy in the Vacation movies. I think maybe that's why he works a bit better there in terms of comedy. But the whining bits, like man-child bits, I don't know, just not as hilarious. That guy must be homophobic. That's what someone would say today. That would be labeled that. Geena Davis ain't coming. Should be sorry. It's your fault. And Randy Quaid went fucking crazy in real life for some reason. I still don't know the full reasons why Randy Quaid went so fucking batshit insane. I mean, I guess maybe I could try to look it up and find info, but I don't know. There's Kurtwood Smith again. That's the guy you find out is like a mob boss. See, that's the thing. Like at this time, even technically to this day, like no matter what I feel about Bill Murray as the person, I still think he's really good in terms of his demeanor, his cadence, being a big fan of the guy on a comedic level. Even a lesser film I could still watch or like or tolerate or watch easily as a time waster, and like this bit here. During this whole fight scene. Keeps using the guy's bag with the money. People just going insane. And that's the thing. I like Geena Davis as an actress, and it just sad we didn't get to see her anymore after. Really, like the longest good night was like the last. She might have done stuff afterward. I can't remember, but the last longest good night was a very fun action movie. And like I said, that was the last bit of stuff I had seen her in. I know she did a TV show, Commander in Chief or something that didn't last too long. But I can't remember what else she did. Like I said, around this time she was a rising star. Like I said, The Fly was a hit. Beetlejuice was a hit. Thelma and Louise, that was a hit. Directed by Ridley Scott. I think that came out after this. And so again, as his rising star, is like, okay, Cutthroat Island launches Goodnight, and sadly, those were big bombs, and like I said, it seemed like killed her career for quite a while, because like I said, I cannot remember what the hell she did after Longest Goodnight. So Jason Robards got to be the big hero, taking down the big mob guy. And here Jason Robards realizes who that is. Now, granted, couldn't he call the airport guys and tell them, hey, hold that plane, we think there's a robber, and then they could turn the plane around and land it? I mean, couldn't they still do that? Be right back. He runs in. Hey, there's a robber on that plane. This is the guy that robbed $1 million. We have an emergency. We'll be landing down. And then they go in and they arrest the guy. But I guess for some reason in this film, once you're in the air, that's it. You can't just turn back and land again and whatever. And just like the characters, we're leaving New York away, and maybe it's someone who had a hate for New York and just wanted to say, I want to make a movie that says, fuck you, New York. I don't know. Was that the. I don't know. Is it supposed to be a love letter? Does it feel like a love letter to New York? I would say Ghostbusters feels like more of a love letter to New York. Ghostbusters 2 with the Statue of Liberty. Remember, that was the thing. Bill Murray hated Ghostbusters 2 so much, he's like, fuck the Statue of Liberty, I just want to make a blah blah blah. I don't know. Whatever. I say Quick Change, it's an alright film, as in goes at a decent enough pace, is short enough to not overstay its welcome. Some nice supporting actors like Jason Robards, Tony Shalhoub, Kurtwood Smith, they do find what they need to do. Bill Murray, typical charm, quality to him. It's just not a film that really ever stayed with me when I first saw it and even watch it now. Maybe the way he does the robbery is a bit humorous. You know, there's some bits of humor there that works. Like I said, like Geena Davis and Randy Quaid don't come off as the most interesting or likable characters. The situations they get themselves in weren't really that hilarious either. I guess, you know, there's been other films that have done it that were much more broad or over the top that maybe made it a bit funnier. I don't know. Like I say, it's an okay film, but if you want to see a movie about a guy or characters stuck in a city and all these weird characters come out of work, I thought After Hours was a bit of a funnier movie than this. But it didn't. It's okay, but it's not a favorite of mine. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.